Hi, Richard. Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Nice. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the last open office hours. Today we're gonna talk briefly about Module 6 and in details about the capstone project. And of course, you can ask any questions that you want about the program or any geeky stuff about AI and leadership. So, in this last module, we're going to talk about the culture of innovation, and this is something intrinsically related to new technologies, not just for artificial intelligence, but for blockchain, for IoT, for the metaverse now. It's a very big subject. What else? We have robotics, and they are getting smarter by the day. Also, we have big data and cloud services. All these buzzwords, when we talk about them, we always link them to innovation. The good thing about AI, it can operate in all new technologies and you can take advantage of that. And of course, who can make that big change are the leaders. Even though I don't really believe in that, because you can have the developers, the engineers, and your team that came up with the innovative ideas, and not necessarily they are working in AI, and that's the spirit of the program. The X teams concept, when internal stakeholders, also external stakeholders communicate together and they advance the artificial intelligence concepts. So we're going to start by AI trends. And in here, so I've been doing some work with Google for the past 3 years, as it's mostly volunteering, but we have serious projects we work on. And lately, they've been pushing a new technology, a new framework is called the JAX. So as you know, if you're going to develop artificial intelligence program, you need a programming language, you need a development environment, and you need mostly a framework. One of the most known frameworks are TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, and PyTorch. So Scikit-learn is open source. Actually, all of them are open source, but Scikit-learn was built by many mathematicians. PyTorch is owned by Facebook, and TensorFlow was built by Google. Now, why I'm talking about this is to get to the point of the new trend. So the new trend is Google JAX framework. It's much faster than any other framework, and is going to be the future of developing AI programs, which you can use in any field that you are in. If you are in healthcare, you can use it. If you are in finance, you can use it. And it's mainly for developers and managers that are managing Scrum teams, which I always say I do not like the concept of Scrum teams, but most of software companies and companies that uses software teams, they use that. So this is more on the technical side of the AI trends. Now, the non-technical side is Elon Musk buying Twitter. So as AI leaders, what we are going to see, or what are we going to expect? We are expecting so you know, the content moderation, how people get banned, how the recommendation system is working, how the sentiment analysis are working on those tweets, how are the fake accounts, and which are known as bots, are created, and why they are intelligent. And they seem to reply. So when you can have a bot that can post a tweet that seems very human, and you can have comments and as interaction, and they seem very human, and you would be like, oh my God, why that person is saying that very evil thing? It's most likely it's written by a bot. So what the community is expecting is to open source all that source code. Now I really sound evil. Like how $1 billion company gonna open source their work. Well, Elon Musk have been known to do that, like giving the patent for the lithium battery of Tesla for free for everyone to use. And they have done many similar approaches. Now for the AI side, you maybe know the Open AI framework. So when Google have created TensorFlow and there was like a team doing that, I think it's Google Brain at that time. And one of the contributors, if I'm not wrong, it was Elon Musk contributing to that project, but it's been sold to Google and it's been acquired by Google. And now it's no longer very transparent. So what Elon Musk have done is created the OpenAI Foundation, and they are promoting transparent AI models, and they are promoting open source collaboration. So now for the people who are confused, what is an open source? An open source is mainly source code that everybody can see, interact with, improve, and fork. What is fork is to copy that work and you can make your own version. Then you can make it public, you can make money out of it, or you can keep it open source. So that was one of the things that, the great things that Elon Musk have done. And those, these are the technological geeky stuff about the AI trend. To link this to what's happening with Twitter, now we are expecting him as the owner to open all that source code to us to use. So people who have money and teams working, they will be waiting day and night for that to be public. Especially for social media companies, there are now big alternatives to Twitter, big alternatives to, I would not say big, alternatives to Instagram and WhatsApp. And if that happens, that would be a big game, that would be a game changer. So we are no longer waiting for research papers from Twitter scientists to post them publicly. They usually do not do those share the cutting edge work they are doing. But from time to time, they will come up with a model or algorithm like the Prophet. You can use it for sentiment analysis. It's very exciting to see what's going to happen. So this is one of the big AI trends. And as leaders, we are watching out what's going to happen and the knowledge that we're going to get for free. Now, why I'm talking and pausing, because this is a very, very recent subject and it can affect how we perceive social media in the future. So moving on to the, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, right. Well, I was just thinking about, you talk about open source and open AI, and I think in some of the reading and in reading I've done outside of this coursework, whether it's, European Commission's recommendations on AI, that they want like a responsible AI to be able to like show its work, if you will. Okay. And
yeah,
I think there are some companies who they have their AI and it just does what it does and they can't explain it. There seems to be two competing forces there, right? Companies whose business models, and I actually meant to turn on my camera. Companies whose business models are, hey, this is our AI and it's black box and we don't know how it does it. Do you see those companies going away or adapting, or do you think regulations will somehow meet in the middle, so to speak? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, thank you for your question. It's very, very interesting. So at least from where I see it, and it's a bit subjective, I think it's converging. And when we have a technology that's converging, it is going to be in the hand of few conglomerates. So now, if we analyze the AI scene, we will see that the biggest AI products vendors are Google, Amazon, Facebook. Who else? They are giants. The technology already converted. What we are consuming now, what we are calling developing AI systems, we are actually consuming what these big companies have done. When we are talking about TensorFlow, JAX, PyTorch, it's actually been there and have been used in these companies years before, and now it's consolidated for them. And they just open it for the public because in Silicon Valley, they knew that when they open it to the public, they can make it more widespread and more accepted in many different companies all around the world. Now, for the regulation aspect, so based on that, many companies will disappear. And one of the big companies losing the race is IBM and Oracle. They've been losing this race for a while, and other companies, they will in the near future because they do not invest enough money. So, for example, I was listening to Zuckerberg last week, and they invested in the metaverse, I think 10 billion. It's just for one project. You can't compete with that. Always you will find a startup which are like satellite companies around the big. Thank you, Kathy. Good night.
Welcome.
Yeah, we have satellite companies around big companies that are doing the R&D. So you have the big conglomerates, they will be like, okay, we will keep those around. Once you have like a successful product or a successful intake, we will acquire them. So they will always, many of them will stay around, many of them will disappear, but mostly the ones that they are staying, they are fueling what these conglomerates are having. And for me personally, I do not see it a bad thing, because if you give me a recommendation system for better search engine, whatever the example is, I'm happy for that as a customer. I know the conspiracy theories and the making it sound evil, I don't see it that evil. Give me a better recommendation system. Give me a better search engine. I don't care as a customer, of course. As a customer, I don't care if you are called Y or Z. In fact, I prefer to consume one product, to consume many products from one company, because they consolidate them in one-stop shop. It's better for me than for 10 different things, I have 10 different companies around me. So now for the regulation side of it, I think it will make the emergence of a new small companies and startups much more difficult, at least when they try to scale. So if you are small, you can, for example, scrape the data, make the analysis, do whatever you want. But once you start to scale, and the small fish became a shark, and then maybe a whale, they will go back and see, oh, how did you come up with that, and how will you start with that? And you will need very expensive lawyers to do that. So I was having a conversation with another learner on this program previously through DMs, and he was asking me about the regulation thing. I think the more heavy those regulation and compliances are, the more difficult they will make small companies' life more difficult. For me, I worked with an investment bank. They have billions. Now I'm with Capgemini. My client is Nike. They have billions. But also, I have other small startups, and they are struggling not because of the technological aspect or the money itself, but when you throw at them GDPR and CCPA and PI, you need more lawyers, and you need more people that can understand the stuff. So the focus is shifting away from creating the technology for the sake of the better things and outcomes to just be compliant. And the more compliant you are, at least what some politicians say, the more compliant, the better the outcome. from innovation standpoint, no. And we can go back to what Jordan Peterson have said. He said the hippies create the cool environment, and after they create the cool environment, the people who like to work in innovation and geeks will go to those places, and after that, you have the investors that came in. So it's a circle. But when you say for the hippies, oh no, you are not compliant with our standards of beauty, for example, you are already killing something that can give you a boost to start. So it's an ecosystem, and the more difficult you make it to protect the consumer, the more difficult you make it for the emergence of new forces. And some new forces that emerge, like small startup or a small company, they actually, some of them are backed by big companies, but they are not liable for them. So if we see the trading companies on the Wall Street and Nasdaq, they've been like 9,300, and like this is 20 years or 25 years ago, and now they are only 3,000. And the market rules apply for everybody. So the technology, the AI technology for now is converging, regardless of which is the specific reasons, because like I cited, there are many reasons for that.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks. What I'm getting, you kind of summed it up nicely, that things are converging, and it would more regulations that would require formerly black box solutions to be more open could hurt small companies. But I wonder if it would really stifle innovation or just change it. You talked about ecosystems. If these regulations do the job of effectively changing the ecosystem where it prioritizes open box solutions as opposed to black box, then I think it just changes the nature of the innovation. There are a lot of smart people out there in the world, and cool and great things could still come with the changed ecosystem. I'm just spitballing here, but yeah, I guess what you're saying, from your point of view, it kind of assumes that.
Your logic.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm following your logic, so please keep developing your thoughts.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. That was it.
But what will be your answer for your own question? I'm curious about that.
Well, I would think that, and this is of course my hope, that the regulations, they'll reach a balance, right? Where those companies that can't afford, hey, we can make a really great product, but it's closed. You're right, they're going to fall away. And maybe those companies may pair up with a larger company, hence the convergence you were talking about, and together they can create great products in a more open AI sort of ecosystem. And it won't stop innovation, it would just change it. To some, I can see that, innovation is not as fast if we do it this way, which to me it is kind of subjective because we won't know. We can't, go back in time and say, here's innovation in black box solutions, and here's innovation in open solutions. I just think it'll change innovation, but innovation will still come, right?
Yeah, you are right. And I think some countries, they will always be open from a regulation and compliance perspective. Sure. So Russia are not pushing these very heavy regulations. Third world countries where surprisingly most of AI softwares are developed, they are not pushing these kind of heavy regulations. So most softwares are built in India. They are offshored, off-sourced in India, and the Indian government does not have a heavy stance on these kind of practices. Like I said, I think in one of the open offices, North Africa. You can build whatever product you want to,
Right.
but then the minute you try to sell it in the Eurozone or North America, they would be subject to a lot of questions. So at a certain point,
so in that instance, right, it's like a different league. Okay, you have those who are just doing whatever, really blue sky sort of thinking, and then you could have those in another tier who have more resources to pay lawyers, for instance, and say, hey,
yeah.
I like what you're doing. I think we might be able to do this in a more open way so that it passes the regulations in Europe.
Yeah.
Let's partner up and try and do something. So it's that convergence that you were talking about. We still have some level of innovation, and it proceeds.
I think in the case
know.
of big tech, they went to Ireland.
Yeah.
And they are processing the data from Ireland, and they are storing a lot of data in Ireland. So that's a kind of loophole. And for me, when I was watching Brexit, before the Brexit happened, like 2 years before it happens, I was like, this must be one of the doing of big US companies. Because I also talked in one of this about how Brussels rule the world. So the European Parliament is in Belgium, in the capital Brussels, and Brussels is enforcing the GDPR. And since the biggest market for the US, the second biggest market for the US is the EU, so practically Brussels is dictating what the US should do. And it dictates the UK. And we know that the UK is part of the Great Britain. So they have resources outside of EU, and it does not work for them to EU dictating what they should do. So it's better off being in the Eurozone. And it's much better for the Americans, for the American companies to have that kind of ally. And a lot of big tech companies are in Ireland, and now there is a big exode to Ireland. Like many talents around the world are just working for companies in Amazon, there in Google. So this is one of the workarounds. And those who invest the money in anything, they will. So capital is like gravity.
Oh, yeah.
Capital is like gravity. If you gravitate around the sun or around the black hole, you will be sucked eventually. And like you see the wealth accumulate, and for certain families is the same. It will accumulate for certain companies until something that comes and truly disrupt the market. So it used to be oil companies, gas companies, energy companies. Now it's data-based companies. In the future, maybe it's those who adopt the metaverse. It will be the way that changed the game. And more than that, it will be, I think most likely, is the space exploration, which is very AI heavy subject that I'm not very knowledgeable about, but I think the space exploration, it will be the $1 trillion industry in the future. And this will disrupt how we invest in the market. So if we disrupt how we invest in the market, the hegemony of the big tech will become a bit less. Maybe they will dissolve eventually, because for sure they get weak, they get acquired, or they shut down. And this is like a life cycle of a market that have different products.
All right. Thanks for your thoughts, man. I like talking about it.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So sometimes I start talking about the subject, and then like from one thought to another, and then like I forget where I started. So please keep me on track. I have this bad habit. I should work more on it. So In this module, like we're talking about AI trends, opportunity and challenges, importance of building innovative culture. And now we need to go to the capstone project. So what we have in here is, this is the last submission that you will have, and all the pieces will fit in, all the puzzle pieces will fit together toward a roadmap of the challenge that you have chosen. So what I advise you to do is to open all the previous submissions, see my comments within your submissions and your answers, update them according to my comments, and answer the last module questions. So the first one is a leadership challenge to address. You already have the answer. Then you have a solution, and you have 3 questions for that. What process do you need to redesign or change? You already answered that. Who are the people you need and what skills should they have? And then what technology would be helpful? And you can notice you already answered all of those. But now you have a holistic view of the entire assignment. And what you need to do is go back and reflect on what you have written and update accordingly. So this is the longest assignment and the most interesting, but not the hardest, because the hard part is finding a solution, and you already have done that. After that, we have key stakeholders, and it should be easy peasy for you, at least at this point. After that, we have data collection and use. This is the tricky subject about AI. We do not have AI without data. And we have a saying in AI says garbage in, garbage out. If you feed your models things that do not make sense, you will not have a result. So this is a very sensitive matter. From where to get your data? And some people, sometimes I have clients who will be like, we have a lot of data. But can your data enable learning? So I was laying down in bed watching Netflix today. And I was thinking about some of my clients' questions. And one of the biggest misconceptions is when they have actually a lot of data, but they cannot drive insights from it. So I elaborated an answer for them, which is, do you think that your data will enable learning? When you read your data, can, at least for a human, this is the first phase, at least for a human, if you read your own data, can you learn from it? If yes, then AI is a good way to go. If no, then it's not sure that AI will find hidden pattern in your data, but it's worth trying. So one of the data sets that I have seen is for an educational company in Tunis and in Dubai, and they wanted to use the learners' data, and I have seen the features they have: the name, the last name, the telephone number, where they live, and I think how much the income of their parents. And they have like thousands of students. But can you learn something from that? No, you can't. You can run analysis on it, good, but not enough good for AI. Some data is unstructured, like images, videos, voices, which is audio. And for that, to process that kind of data, you need really good AI models to derive insights from them. But also you need to be compliant. If you are analyzing audio clips, then first of all, it's not easy to do that. I never myself applied AI into the audio field, and you need to ask permission So when you're talking on the phone to the customer service, and they will tell you that this call will be recorded for training purposes and for monitoring purposes, you can derive a lot of information. You can know the Q&A, you can know all the questions by the customers, and you can elaborate answers in advance, and you can do sentiment analysis on the voice and a lot of those kind of things. So it seems like a legit data to work on it, even though it's not very straightforward. But for me, when I reach out and I'm on the phone, it'll be like, this is gonna be recorded for blah 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 blah. I'll be like, do they have an AI engineer that can build models to detect the sentiment of their customers through the tone of their voices? Or sometimes when I go to a station and I see cameras, and I wonder if the unstructured data of the videos, can they do sentiment analysis based on their facial emotions? So these are not very straightforward data that you can derive insight from it, but you actually can. And the other one is an Excel spreadsheet, which is very easy to see and use and do analysis around, but you still cannot make a learning model out of it. So the question of data collection and use is a very important one. And also I advise to spend a lot of time around the data aspect. The more you spend time with data, the better the outcome will be. And for that, as a methodology for leaders to apply is CRISP-DM. CRISP-DM have 6 phases. I always talk about this methodology. I do not like CRISP-DM, but I do not like Scrum, but I like CRISP-DM. It has 6 phases: business understanding, data understanding, feature engineering, data modeling, evaluation, and deployment. This is how an AI life cycle product is, and a data science project life cycle is. So please, as leaders, take advantage of that, and you can apply simply and easily the X-Team concept to it. In the end is the implementation strategy. Before that, we have regulatory and compliance, but we already covered that with Richard. We covered some parts of it. I will leave the rest to it to elaborate on. And finally, we have implementation strategy. So I've seen some assignments that are working on already existing issues, and I'm really happy about that. I think for this program, for this run of the program, we have the most non-fictional ideas, like people actually working on this. And I'm really proud of that because I can learn from the assignments. Most of the time, I take a pause and like research or read the citations that you guys provide. So it's been very rich. So specifically for those real ideas that you are tackling as professionals, I'm very interested how you're going to implement a strategy for it. And for fictional ideas, also that can be like something that you can do in the future, or a startup that you want to pursue. So put some time into it, because the last question of the last assignment is the culmination of all your efforts. What is your implementation strategy? And sometimes we do not have answer in advance. You can have everything ready, your data, your models, your team, and then you release your new product to the market and you get slapped on the face. Let's hope it's not the case, but the best test for the implementation strategy is to put it out there in the market. If you are producing product to customers or to other businesses, or internally as you do it as entrepreneur leaders. So please let us know as learning facilitators and for your co-learners how you're going to implement your strategy. What is your plan A, plan B, plan C? I would love to see that. So by that, we have covered the last capstone project. We have also talked about the major points of the last module. As usual, the floor is yours to ask any questions regarding any points that I have covered today or any points related to the whole program. And if you have some geeky subject you want us to discuss now, also I'm all yours. So please be my guest.
I got nothing, but I appreciate our talk, and thanks so much for the office hours for this whole module, or rather our whole period. So
thank you, Richard. It's been great to have you with me on these few sessions. The discussion with you is really interesting. You can always text me on LinkedIn if you have anything you want to talk about. Like I say always, I'm a geek. I love to converse about this kind of stuff. So thank you.
all right, will do. Thanks.
Haitham, if you have any question, please feel free to share it with us.
A question kind of not really related.
It's okay.
Okay, in terms of AI and what you're seeing on the investing side, primarily I've done a lot of my career in lending where there's like highly repeatable tasks. The companies are all virtually built the same. And the task of packaging up a mortgage-backed security for sale on the secondary market is very repeatable.
Yeah.
There are some nuances for specific program types, but again, very repeatable. Are you seeing people, like me, I'm thinking, okay, I can apply AI to this field easily. Do I do it by pitching the application of AI and implementation of AI to companies that are already lending? Or is this a space to where somebody out there is interested enough to help somebody with a startup who wants to do this as like an AI lending platform from scratch? Or are you seeing more people, investors, or lending companies being more willing to adopt AI as like a third-party service?
Thank you for the question. It's actually very related to the course. And I would say, at least from what I have seen, it's better that if you are inside the lending company or whatever organization, it's better that you spot the issue yourself and you present the solution or the improvement for the issue itself by yourself as a leader and pitch the solution instead of pitching the use of AI in general. And this is one of the biggest flops of many high up the hierarchy executives, is when there is a new technology, they will go, oh, let's use blockchain, or let's use metaverse to improve our sales or improve our operations. But that's the biggest mistake. You do not pitch the technology, you pitch the solution that is based on that technology. So that's what I advise. Now, to pursue it as a startup, as a third party, or within the organization itself, I would say start within the organization itself as intrapreneur. If it does not work, you can refer to an external consultancy, or you can start your own startup about it. But before doing that, try to see if there is momentum behind the idea. Because as a leader, we will be talking about more high up the hierarchy leaders. And if they back you up, for sure you can do it. Now, the good thing about third parties, whether they are startups or consultancy companies, is there is very much less liability. If it works, it works. If it does not, it does not. But if you are within the organization as entrepreneur, it's in your face. So it depends on whether you are well positioned to do that or not. And there are always a risk to take. This is equal to saying innovation is equally to having the risk. So if it's up for me, which I have done before, and it could have jeopardized my career too, but the products have worked. I spotted the issue, I fixed the issue myself, and then I pitched the working solution. And with that, I have gained confidence and move up in my career. So I took the risk on myself. What happened is they stopped relying on many external consultancies and third parties and invest more in the innovation team I have worked with. So hopefully by this I have answered your question. If not, please let me know which part do you want to discuss more.
Oh, that was great. Excellent. Thank you.
My pleasure. So thank you again, Haitham, for your question. This session will be recorded and will be posted on Ref. If you have any questions, please comment or DM me. And good luck with your last assignment and good luck for your future endeavor. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.